Welcome to the Executive Woman Podcast, Women Changing the Game. I'm your host, Dr. Sheila Robinson, and our mission is to empower women in business, leadership, and entrepreneurship. Each week, we bring you conversations with trailblazing executives, innovative women leaders, influential leaders who are breaking barriers and reshaping the business landscape. And through these discussions, we aim to provide you with the tools that you need to make a lasting impact in your industry and career. And we have an amazing aspiring leader with us today. And we are so thrilled to have Gloria Felt with us. She has such an impressive bio, but I want to give her a fitting introduction before we welcome her to our virtual listening stage. Gloria Felt is a nationally acclaimed expert on women, power, and leadership. That is exactly who we need. We need to carry her around with us in our pockets because with this expertise, she comes from frontline leadership experience. She's a best-selling author and in-demand keynote speaker. She has been selected for Forbes 50 over 50, and she is the co-founder and president of Take the Lead. Her organization's mission reflects her life's passion to prepare, develop, inspire, and propel women to take their fair and equal share of leadership positions across all sectors by 2025 by providing breakthrough training, mentoring, and coaching, role modeling, and thought leadership. And Gloria, we know you are the best-selling author of 5 books, and you were formerly the president and CEO of the world's largest reproductive health and advocacy organization, Planned Parenthood Federation of America. I want to bring you forward, share with our guests anything that you want to before I jump into our questioning. I just want to welcome you to say hello to our listeners.
Sheila, it is such a pleasure to be here with you. I admire what you do so much, and it's just wonderful to be here and to hear what you have to say. There's so much to talk about these days when it comes to women and power and leadership. So I am sure we will just jump right into it.
We're going to jump right into it. I know, my journey began on the factory floor of a global chemical giant, $6 billion Lycra. And my leadership journey was, I would say turning adversity into opportunity, overcoming barriers, so many obstacles that we have had to overcome to get to that leadership role. Tell me a little bit about your journey and that. I don't know if you climbed that corporate ladder with all those broken barriers to become the CEO of Planned Parenthood. What was that like?
Well, my journey started in small Texas towns where women weren't really given aspirations for leadership roles, let alone to have any particular power in their lives. And I was a teen mom, and I had to sort of work my way out of that situation. And I after my third child was born, I started to college. So that was the start of it. As I sort of woke up and realized, wait, I have a brain too. And there are things that I can do in this world. But it was a long journey after that. It took quite a while. I tried to be super mom and super wife mostly for quite a while. And so I never climbed a corporate ladder. I planned on being a high school social studies teacher. And I serendipitously offered a position at the small Planned Parenthood affiliate in West Texas, for which I was totally unqualified. It was because as I was taking my very last course to finish my bachelor's degree so I could start doing my student teaching, my professor suggested I do a paper on the small new Planned Parenthood affiliate in West Texas. And I thought, well, I've never had a formal job interview before. I had been teaching at Head Start for 5 years, and I loved it, and I wanted to keep teaching. And I just thought, well, I was volunteering there, and then they offered me the job. So I don't know anything. I've never had a resume. I've never had a formal job interview. So it will be good experience. I am in no danger of being hired, because I know nothing. I've never run an organization. I know nothing about healthcare. I know nothing about anything. And I interviewed the executive director. I talked to some nurse practitioners and the board members. And lo and behold, 2 weeks later, the executive director called me and said, "I'm leaving. I think you should submit a resume."
Wow.
And I thought to myself, like I said, I'm in no danger of being hired. It'll be a great experience. I'll give it a try. And as they say, the rest is history. I went from there to a tiny little affiliate to a middle-sized affiliate, grew that to one of the biggest in the country, and then became the national president. So it was a 30-year career that was totally unplanned for, which is kind of funny given the name of the organization. But
Yeah, but it's so fascinating.
yeah, I just had to learn everything on the job, everything.
Yeah, and it's so fascinating because as you began sharing your story about having your kids and being married, I could hear your why. And they always tell us when we're preparing for our leadership, like
Mhm.
women, they say that we don't prepare. We get out, we say, "Oh, we're going to do this," but we did not take into consideration that work-life balance. We didn't, I always say it's important that you prepare and plan for both your personal and your professional life. Don't get the professional life and then say, oops, I forgot something. Now I have to quit. Well, you already had that in place. You already had your why in place. You already had the marriage and the kids. So how motivating and empowering was that for you to have that why right there in place with trying to make sure you could balance this career, amazing career, and your family too. I want to dispel that myth because I believe if we prepare correctly, that we can have it all. We can have the career we desire, the families we want, and the relationships as well.
Oh, Sheila, you are so far ahead of me. You are so far ahead of me in your knowledge and your understanding of all of these things. I don't think I have ever had balance at all. And I actually often, when women talk about finding that balance, work-life balance, I like, every day is a series of choices that we make about how we're going to spend our day. We all just have the same 24 hours a day. And that's one thing we can't make more of. We can't make more time. And so every day is a series of choices. But you're right. If we're not consciously choosing it, then we fritter it away, or it may not be as satisfying or gratifying. But believe me, I am so far behind you. I'm learning from you about that kind of preparation because my mantra has been just say yes and figure it out.
No, look, we have to teach them to set boundaries to just say no nowadays. I tell you, because our place will be filled. But I think that, you're right, there is no such thing as balance, but there is such thing as a work life decisions. And in that, I call it, I don't even do the 24-hour anymore because I don't count the hours I sleep. So I'm like 16, 17 hours that I have that I can choose. Like you said, we have the right to make those choices and make the decisions so that our work and our life can be successful. Stop trying to balance. Let's just make the decision so that we can be happy. But I'm going to tell you, I'm not far ahead of you, Gloria, because you're a best-selling author. Your book, No Excuses. What a segue into this. No Excuses. 9 ways women can change how we think about power. Let's talk about that.
Well, so I realized at one point that one of the reasons why, after I had spent so many years in advocacy for women, one of the reasons why it seemed like we kept fighting the same battles over and over again was that we weren't in the positions of power. And when I started doing my research, I realized, much to my surprise, that although we were half of the workplace and we were earning 57% of the college degrees, and the data was already very clear that companies with more women in their leadership were more profitable. Women, when I started writing that book, which is now like 13 years ago, were at 18% of the top leadership positions across every single sector. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. You know what? Until we get to parity in those leadership positions, so we have equal power and frankly pay, along with the fact that we're doing work that we love, we're never going to stop fighting for equality. We still don't have the Equal Rights Amendment in the Constitution, for example. It was written 101 years ago. And it has still not been put into the Constitution. So that is what really propelled me to write that book. And I looked at the reasons why. And most of the research said that women had less ambition than men. And I
Well,
thought,
who did that research,
I
huh?
don't believe that can be quite true. I think there's something
Yeah,
else going on here.
that's right. Who did the research?
Obviously, it wasn't women. And
Exactly.
although some of it was, because we're all born into the same cultural soup, and we get ingrained with the same myths that are in our culture and the narratives. But I found, as I began to interview women all over the country and look into my own patterns, that we give away our power very often. And the reason is we have an ambivalent relationship very often with power. Because look, who's borne the brunt of the worst aspects of power over millennia? The men start the wars, and the women get displaced and get their children. It's rape is a figment of war. It's all of these things. Women have borne the brunt of negative aspects of power all our lives, and so it's not surprising that we might have some ambivalence about owning the power that we have. And then, as you know, there's stereotype threat, so that if we don't appear mild mannered, if we appear to be too powerful, what happens? We're judged very harshly, right?
Exactly.
And we're
Exactly.
judged harshly, and we may not be treated well. So
Exactly.
so I realized that we had to start by clearing out our own minds. We had to start by realizing that the power is like a hammer. You can build something with it, or you can break something apart. It's what you do with it that matters. So embrace it as the power to make your life better.
I absolutely love how you describe power as a tool. Can you
Yes.
share that again?
So
Wi-
power is like a hammer. You can build something with it, or you can
With it?
break something apart. It is pure energy. It has no characteristics of its own. It's what you decide to do with it. And once we can reframe power like that, I would see women look like masks were falling off of their faces, and then smile and then say, well, yeah, I want that. Of course I want that. And
Yes.
then we can go from there to having some specific tools and techniques to be able to step in your power, use your power, embrace your power, and be authentic about it as a woman. Not try to be like men, but to understand that it's not a finite pie. Sheila, if you help me and I help you, we both have more.
We have more power. And I know we need to all run out and grab that book. But in summary, if you were to summarize that, what is something that you would say that, that we need to start right now? And what is the one thing to redefine our power, and how we can help women excel in leadership roles by redefining our power?
Well, as I mentioned, it's that the shift from power over that's oppressive to power to that is really what I call leadership, is what leadership is about. But to expand on it a little bit, I guess if I had to say one thing, I would use the power tool number 2, which is define your own terms first
Define your own terms
before someone else defines you, because we're all going to be defined. We're going to be branded.
before someone else defines you. That is excellent.
Decide who you want the world to see as you first.
I love that. So now what about the non-leadership power tools and their impact on women leadership?
Well, when once you've redefined power in that way,
Hmm.
the 9 leadership power tools fall into 3 categories, 3 buckets. The
Okay.
first bucket is the self-definitional tools. The one I just mentioned is one of those. Define
Okay.
your own terms, but you have to first know who you are. So you need to know your history. You need to know how did your family shape you? What shaped you into the
Who
person that
you
you are?
are. Know
Yeah,
your history. I love that.
yeah, know your history, define your terms, and then do an assessment of what are the power points and relationships that you have that make you special. What are the things that you bring to the table that make you you? Because, Dr. Seuss says nobody is youer than you. And
I love that. Yes.
it's the truth. It's the truth.
It's the truth.
So So that's self-definition. Then there are the counterintuitive power tools. I love these because, I'm a little bit of a rabble rouser. And
Okay.
these are the things your mama probably told you not to do. One is to embrace controversy. And that is to understand that when something is controversial, people are paying attention. So it gives
Mm-hmm.
you a chance, it gives you a platform to explain who you are, what you believe, and why you think other people should listen to what you have to say. And that's embrace controversy. Use its energy to take your ideas forward. The second one is similar but a little different. Carpe the chaos. It gets to more like when things all around you seem like they're falling apart and crazy, like they kind of are right now. How can you take that moment and transform it into new thinking that enables you and other people to come up with a better solution than you've ever had before? And that's carpe the chaos. And then the third one in that category is wear the shirt. And that is about what are your deepest held convictions and values, and what is it that you believe so strongly in that you would put it on your shirt and you'd wear it outside of your house. And the best leaders know themselves and they show themselves. They show who they are. And those are the counterintuitive power tools. Then there are the change leadership tools. Those tools, and we teach all of these as techniques to be able to thrive in the world as it is while we're changing it, because it needs some changing. And women have the stake in changing it. We can't wait for it to be changed for us. No, nobody's going to do it for us. We have to do it for ourselves. We have to do it for everybody else. It'll be better for men and everybody when we make this change. Okay, so then we have the change leadership tools. Those are employ every medium, which is exactly what you're doing right now. You have your podcast, you're getting the word out, you have your magazine, you have your conferences, you are out there being the media, and we have to do that. And then there is create a movement. And that is really simple. It's not about having a picket sign out on the sidewalk, although sometimes that's kind of fun too. But creating a movement is about understanding you make change by aligning with the people who you share their concerns. And then you understand that people who work together, even if they don't have a lot of power, can make anything happen. You can make change happen. But you have to do your homework. So the third part of that is you have to do your homework. Know where the power lies and who you have to go talk to and what information you need to put together in order to make a cogent case for what you want to change. And then the last one is so precious. It is how the world turns. It is tell your story. Tell your story.
So, Gloria, you mentioned start a movement. This is a great segue into the Take the Lead mission, because to me, that clearly is a movement. Let's talk about your mission there and the organization Take the Lead.
Sure. Mission is challenging and very clear. And it is to prepare, which is training, to inspire, which is role model programs, to develop, which is to have coaching and mentoring, and to actually provide the thought leadership so that all women of all diversities and intersectionalities will achieve parity in leadership. When we made this mission, we said 2025. That was 10 years ago. We're celebrating our 10th anniversary this year. We couldn't have predicted a pandemic that would set us back a few years, but my belief in using the power tool Carpe the Chaos is that disruption of the pandemic is exactly what is now going to help us move faster, much farther, much faster than we might have otherwise, because every organization, every company has had to change many of its policies to give people more flexibility, to understand that, we have to take care of our kids too, to realize that they need to provide for people to be able to do that. And I think the issue of understanding that the more diversity you have around the table, the better decisions you make, that is becoming part of the bloodstream now. And so I believe we can move farther, faster. Maybe we'll make it by 2025, the end of 2025. Maybe it'll take a little longer, but my glorious theory of planning is always you put a big goal out there And if you don't reach it fully, you'll get further than you would have if you hadn't put that stake in the ground. So that's our mission: gender parity, intersectionality by 2025.
And I love further faster. I love that. And another thing that I love, Gloria, is whether we reach parity in 2025, the amount of women who have benefited from the Take the Lead program is just unbelievable. Would you share a couple of inspiring stories that our listeners can learn about so that we can go out and we can be a part of the 2025 parity? Because we can. If we send more women to the Take the Lead, everybody that out there is listening to us can be a part of Further Faster.
Love that. Love that. Love that. Yes. And it's the perfect time to be asking me that question because we are about to have our 10th anniversary Power Up conference and concert on August 25th and 26th. And it'll be in Washington, D.C. and also virtually available. And one of the things we're going to do to celebrate our 10th anniversary is we're going to highlight 10 of the women who have been through our programs and are doing incredible things. And they have been self-nominating. And I've got to tell you, it's going to be really hard to pick 10 because there are so many amazing women. We've trained about 5,000 women now, and we've actually reached over 1.5 million through our other programming that reaches larger audiences. So it's going to be hard to decide, but some examples you may be seeing. Well, okay, I want to give here's one of the things I love the most, which is there are so many women who met in our programs and then started businesses together and or
Wow,
are doing some project together. And one
that's
that I would love to
incredible.
highlight is that means something so important to all women, of course, is pay equity, right? And
Yes,
parity. Well, we all know the name Lily Ledbetter, who
yes.
who has been fighting and has a law named for her because of her courageous work to get equal pay for women and men. And so two of the women who met each other in our 50 Women Can Change the World in Media and Entertainment program have partnered to do a film that is telling the story of Lily Ledbetter's fight for equal pay. And
Outstanding.
and the fact that they got together and that was the the inception of being able to do this is just that just means so much to me that working together they were able to do what one of them had been wanting to do this for years, and they got together and it is going to be released, I believe, this fall. There are so many. Almost every day I see Antonia Hilton on MSNBC or NBC, and she's a rising star in the journal from our journalism cohort. And similarly, women who were in our entrepreneurship cohort this past year are building amazing businesses and finding that if they do business with each other, they all can grow their respective businesses again further faster. So there we
That's
go.
outstanding. I can already hear how this movement is magnifying in bounds, leaps and bounds. And just imagine when that film, comes out. Just imagine you have someone, a journalist, an anchor woman on air. And so we want our listeners to also to be able to see more about Take the Lead. Would you give your website and where they can find out about the 10-year anniversary celebration?
Our website is taketheleadwomen.com. That's taketheleadwomen.com. We are a nonprofit, and if you accidentally type in .org, you'll still get to the same website. But our main website is taketheleadwomen.com. The conference is, if you can go to taketheleadwomen.com and you'll find the conference there, but you can also go to thepowerupconference.com. Go straight to the website where you can see all of the amazing speakers. And Sheila, you're going to be there. You're going to be one of them.
Oh, I
So
can't wait.
it's going to be really powerful. And were you inspired by Wonder Woman when you were a girl?
Absolutely.
Well,
Linda
Wonder Woman,
Carter.
Wonder
Linda
Carter is
Carter.
going to be there. She's going to be getting our Leading Woman Award at the concert on Sunday, the 25th of August at the Kennedy Center.
I couldn't think of a more fitting honoree. It is going to be amazing. So we're about to wrap it up, but a couple of questions I have for you is your vision for the future for women's leadership and gender equality. You've done this amazing work in 10 years. How do you say here's to the next 10? What are you going to say or do to here's to the next decade?
Well, I'll tell you what I worry about, and what you worry about is what you need to pay attention to, right? So it's not just having power that counts. It's what you do with it. It is what you do with it. And I worry that as more women do ascend into powerful positions, that we might forget what brought us there and the hard work of so many women, and the fact that we need to each play a part in helping the next woman to rise. And so that's what I think our next 10 years needs to focus on, in addition to continuing that journey toward gender parity in leadership, to also do it with that ethical framework of, and it's our job to help the next woman along.
Women, we lift as we climb,
Yes, we
as you
do.
may say.
Mhm.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode. Gloria, it has been so amazing to have you. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and experiences with us. Your journey and your dedication to empowering women and leading us to gender parity is truly such an inspiration. I want you to have the final parting advice. What is something that you want to leave with women, just parting advice for our listeners today to take away as we close out our segment?
Well, one thing that we haven't talked about that I try to impress upon people, because I think in this era of iPhones and people texting instead of picking up the phone and calling, instead of going to lunch, instead, is my advice is to understand that your social capital is even more valuable than your financial capital.
Hmm.
And the world really turns on human connections. And so nurture those connections, build those relationships, because that is what will stand you in good stead throughout your life.
That's awesome. So, to our listeners, we hope you found this conversation as enlightening as I did. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and leave a review. And your support really does help us continue bringing you these valuable discussions. And remember, Gloria has told us that you can go to taketheleadwomen.com. Takethelead.org will take the lead women.com and to find out more about her organization. So again, thank you for listening. We'll catch up with you next time on Executive Woman, Women Changing the Game in Leadership. Keep striving, keep growing, and keep supporting each other as Gloria Felt has told us today. Thank you so much.